it is time to do the seasonal roundups of spring 2025. Now, I'm a couple of episodes into each of these shows, unless I'm only a single episode in which case I'll probably mention that. But I'm going to try and explain the concept of some of these shows as well, now that we're basically kind of over or past the point where we need the concept of the show explained to us or presented to us in those first couple of episodes, basically just to kind of get the premise across. So I'll try and do the best that I can to get the premise across as I share the shows that I'm going to be watching during this anime season. Now, first and foremost, I do want to do the sequel seasons real quick. So let's talk One Piece. One Piece has finally made its return after being away for a few months because they were doing the remastered version of the Fisherman arc, and obviously that was like episode 560 to like 620ish, so to speak. And honestly, I did not want to rewatch that arc. In fact, I probably think that's my least favorite. So it's good to see that the Straw Hat crew are in fact now back, and we're continuing the story with the Egghead? I was gonna say Eggman Island arc, the Egghead Island arc. So yeah, gonna be looking forward to seeing what happens. I don't think I need to explain One Piece at all because it's so incredibly popular, because it's for some reason ranked number 17 under popularity. I wonder what the ones that are higher are, but I'll check that out later on in my own time. And there's only one other show that's going to be a sequel season, because the rest of the shows I'm watching are in fact all original shows for this season. Slime Taoshite 300年 Shiranai Uchi ni level max ni naremashita Sono ni. The third, why did I say third? The second season of, I don't know why I clicked on that. The second season of I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. Just to kind of give you a basic idea of the premise of the show. There's a witch who lives in the Highlands who is actually reborn from an office worker who died in real life, and so basically it's an isekai of her killing slimes every single day and maxing out her level, and she's over 300 years old from the time that she's been living in this world. And this is the second season of that show. The first season I think I gave a 5 out of 10 to, because it was just fine. It didn't do anything great, it didn't do anything spectacular, and it was actually quite relatively boring, in fact, because a lot of what was going on felt a little bit plain, bland. A lot of things felt like they were being explained through the characters' dialogue, so the writing didn't feel great. But the thing is that the visuals were at least nice to look at. There were some comedic aspects in there that did, caused me to laugh at least a little bit. Yeah, so second season, I am not feeling any of the positivity that I felt from the first season. In fact, I think the second season, 2 episodes in, is absolutely worse than the first season, but I'll have to wait and see how things go, because I feel like it's trying to do non-beauty, but lacks the quirkiness or individuality, or the good writing, in fact, of characters, or their even presentation of the characters' voices. There feels like a lot's missing there. And of course, the show makes no attempt to remind you how season 1 went or who half the characters are, so that's gonna be left up to you as the individual to go back and rewatch season 1. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how things go, though I'm not feeling high on the show at all. But a show I am feeling incredibly high on is Lazarus. So immediately just watching the show's trailer, it should be quite impactful. I actually watched the trailer through someone else's YouTube video that they just happened to be looking at the trailer, so it caught my attention. I'm like, cool, interesting, what is this about? Basically, the idea is that there is this famed doctor that created this miracle drug that, reduces all of these sorts of pains that you could probably have to absolutely nothing. And this drug was then proven to be successful throughout the entire world as it keeps constantly being shipped out. And then that doctor suddenly goes missing after the success of this insane drug. What was the drug called again? I can't remember. Hapana, yeah. So the drug Hapana is absolutely insane, does a lot of great stuff for the entirety of the world. And then the doctor disappears, and the problem is that he's kind of, this Nobel Prize winner. Oh yeah, Dr. Skinner, that's what the doctor's name is, now that we've got it. Basically, the doctor is gone missing, comes back 2 or 3 years later? 3 years later, yes. He returns with a message across screens around the entire world in the middle of, like, if you've got a screen in front of you, people are looking at it. And this being 2052, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are looking at screens. But basically, he sends out the message, anyone who's taken the drug Hapna, 3 years later is going to turn into a potent poison, and everyone in the world is going to die that took the drug unless you find me. And so now we have our main character who is in jail, manages to escape, and gets caught by a group of interesting individuals called Lazarus. And by the end of the first episode, the main lady who runs Lazarus says, welcome to Lazarus. Basically, she wanted the main character, who is this runner type individual, to join their crew. And I assume to find Skinner. Basically, Dr. Skinner, and actually save the world from whatever this potent poison is within the drug. Now, interesting in all, I don't know what language people are watching it in, but I'm watching it in Japanese because the voice acting feels quite good. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what I think about the show, because I feel like I'm going to get into a lot of detail when I do actually decide to review the show at the end of the season. But I am very much enjoying the very relaxed yet somewhat cocky nature of the main character. Like, he doesn't get too much on my nerves. We've seen some of the other members of Lazarus so far chasing him down, and there will seem to be an interesting lot of misfits for sure, on top of which we have this very interesting premise of a drug that turns into a poison 3 years later, and the doctor being someone who people like but are now kind of reviling against, now being treated with this incredible news. So it's an interesting show so far. I've only watched the first episode, so I can only imagine how the rest of it is going to go. But I do hope that it's going to remain relatively good throughout. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. That's kind of where we're at. Moving on from that, however, Haite Kudasai, Takamine-san. So, the only reason I know about this manga is because I know Joey, the anime man, did in fact talk about the manga at some point. I can't remember what kind of video it was, but when I saw this, I was like, oh, genre ecchi? Okay, cool. I'm gonna watch it. Let's do this. And sure enough, I'm only... Oh, actually, you know what? I am 2 episodes in. Cool. So basically, what happens is that the main character has a crush on this girl called Takamine-san, who is basically, just the best at everything. Everybody loves her and stuff like that. Basically, he ends up going into the gym shed just to do something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was hiding there. Managed to see the main girl's tits, and as a result of that, whenever she takes her panties off, she'll be able to basically turn back time. The only people who are not affected, however, are basically those who have seen her tits. Basically, and this whole ability that she has is called Eternal Virgin Road, and basically the idea is to keep her as, what's the word, as pure as possible, basically. And so, because the main character is not affected by her ability anymore, she tells him to become her closet, basically, where he carries packs of panties or underwear or bras around, because obviously when she takes that piece of underwear off, it disappears into nothingness and time turns backwards. And so basically the main character now has to be the wardrobe, whereby he has to try and, like, in risque situations, put that underwear back onto her, either in public or in, like, some other way, while not giving too much away on what the heck is actually going on. And at the same time, if, say, for example, he were to ever say no to her, she would put him in a situation which would result in him being thrown in jail for sexual harassment by police, and basically she kind of is just able to blackmail him and put him into all sorts of situations that would completely ruin his life. So in an attempt, and she's basically kind of like the dominator in the relationship, to be completely honest. So basically it just kind of goes in that way. Now, keeping in mind, I'm not actually reading the synopsis for any of these shows. I'm just explaining them from my point of view, from me watching them. I should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, interesting show. We'll kind of have to see how things go. I don't expect it to be particularly good. It's just kind of trashy, itchy is what I'm thinking. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see how things go. Moving on from that, however, is another show that falls into the itchy genre is Kakushite Makina-san. Now, I don't know why the English name is Makina-san's Love Bot, because that gives away basically the entire premise of the show, which is the only interesting aspect of it so far from the first 2 episodes. Basically, this is a shorter show, so the other shows are all like, 23, 24 minute long episodes. This one is only 12 minutes per episode. But that 12 minutes does also include the opening and ending, so technically it's more like 9 to 10 minutes really per episode. But Kakushite means to hide or hide. So basically I don't know why the translated name just is kind of off that way. But basically we have Makina. This is basically this girl right here, and she harbors a secret that no one knows about. Unfortunately, for people who have read the English version of the manga, you know exactly what that secret is. So basically, there's her and our character Eita. Eita is basically like this sort of mecha enthusiast, someone who loves, mechanical stuff, robots, but he's an otaku, and so therefore he doesn't talk about things, he doesn't really meet with people, he doesn't know anyone, he just knows the popular people and how we live in different worlds and stuff like that. Moving on from basically that sort of archetype for our main character, one day he comes home, sees Makina waiting outside of his I was gonna say house, but it's really an apartment. I don't know why it took me a second to think of that and why I had to go silent for it. But basically, Makina tried to open a door at her own apartment, ended up exploding because she's a robot, and she therefore had to hide her identity by using a raincoat because it was raining outside as the perfect way of being able to hide herself to get back to Eita. Because she just so happens to know where he lives for some reason. And so because Eita is basically a massive mecha otaku, and with Makina being a robot, she's like, okay, she's trusting in him to actually fix her, but also the fact that she is an android that was created to seduce men, but has never done it for the first time, which is an interesting way of putting it, I guess. This all happens, by the way, in the first episode, and basically is as interesting as the show is going to get, I feel like, but we'll just kind of wait and see how things go by the end. Again, I'm not expecting much. Again, I'm thinking of this as trashy, ecchi, just like Haite, Kudasai, Takamine-san before. Kakushite Makina-san, I think, is going to be exactly the same, which then leads us to the final show I'm going to be talking about that I'm watching this season, and it is Summer Pockets. Basically, 2 episodes are out as of me recording this, but I've only watched the first episode, so I might be a little bit off on my guessing here, but we'll wait and see how things go. So, Summer Pockets, basically, it is a slice of life anime that takes place in contemporary Japan, as with, I think, basically most of the shows I've talked about, except for Slime, One Piece, and Lazarus. Basically, it takes place on an isolated rural island, and our main character travels there, is going to be living there for a bit while he gets his grandma's stuff, I think. And yeah, so our main character is Heidi Takada, and this might be a little bit presumptuous, but as I was watching this first episode, I thought to myself, the presentation style of our main character and all of the side characters being girls, why is it... So the main character is a guy. We have a bunch of girls being introduced here. A good bunch of them in various different ways. Then I thought to myself, hold on, isn't this being presented to me like as if though it was a visual novel? Basically a gaurge is what I'm thinking. A visual novel in which you're introduced to a bunch of girls and then you pick which girl's route you want to go down, basically. Who is your favorite girl? Who do you want to woo, basically? And because of the presentation style, I was like, there's no way this could be a key visual novel, could it? And so I looked up My Anime List to check out Summer Pockets, and sure enough, boom, visual novel. And it's being animated by Feel. So this, but I don't know if the visual novel was made by Key though. And I could probably imagine that there's probably an eroge version of Summer Pockets, unless it's all ages only. But sure enough, I managed to deduce the fact that this is in fact a visual novel mid-watching the first episode, because I just picked the show thinking, I hope it's like Non-Non-Byori. I hope it's like other slice of life shows that have maybe not the most interesting protagonist, but at least a bunch of interesting side characters or interesting protagonists that are well written, well presented, and actually provide me with an interesting experience just to sit down and watch, because I love watching slice of life shows. And if they're good, like Non-Non-Byori or like Wagnaria, those are extremely good shows. Where something like Slime, the 300 years max level slime killing witch lady isekai is not that. So I'm hoping, I have higher expectations for Summer Pockets than I do that show. So interested to see how things go, because this is most certainly a wait and see. I do very much love the art style. Like I said, it definitely reminds me of a lot of visual novels that I was expected to see kind of in the mid-2000s, basically. So hopefully there are more of these to come beyond Summer Pockets. And what else did we have for key visual novels like Kanon and stuff like that, Clanad. So hopefully Summer Pockets is going to be a good show. I don't know what else to expect from it, so because I've not played the visual novel, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So hopefully we'll be able to keep things very spoiler free as much as we can. But basically, this is all that actually, maybe I'll do my outro as I'm looking at here. Cool. So basically, that is the shows that I'm going to be watching this season. One Piece, Slime, 300... Oh, actually, I'll just go through each of the shows. So One Piece, of course, continuing from previously. Slime, killing 300 years, max level. That season 1 was not particularly good. Lazarus, which looks fairly interesting and does give off those vibes that I expect to see from a Samurai Champloo or... Shoot, I forgot what the other show was called. Samurai Champloo or the other show that came out in 1997, 1998-ish. That sort of art style, that sort of attitude, that I'm getting those feels from Lazarus. I'm hoping for more. Haite Kudasai, Takamine-san for some ecchi action, though again not expecting much, or Kakushite Makina-san for basically the exact same thing, except I think this show's technically going to be worse, but I'm just guessing for now. We're only a couple episodes in. Or I'm hoping that Summer Pockets is at least going to be better than Slime 300 years, etc, etc, insert isekai name here. But with all that being said, however, I am interested to hear what you guys are watching this season. Fingers crossed that it's not Fire Force or En no Shobutai, but anyway. With all that being said, however, please comment below on anything that you've seen, liked, or otherwise in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. And with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.